Yo, what is up, Crocs and Clown members, and others who have stolen from this video? I'm SoresanCrockxen, and today we're doing a video that I have been planning to do for a couple days, and I decided I was going to record it today. So essentially, this came off of I have a lot of anime opening songs on my phone, and I listen to them in the car and just rolling them around and stuff like that, right? And I enjoy most of the ones that I mean, pretty much every song that I have on my phone I like, right? Um, and it made me think about something because I have this. I mean, I know a lot of people have this, but it's one of those cables that you connect to your device and then to the radio in your car, and then you can play the music that way. I have one of those, and then my cousin who was in the car with me, we're getting lunch. It was him, a friend of ours, and myself, and he was asking for a song for a certain show. And I had not watched this show, so it honestly didn't make sense for me to have it in my phone because I've never seen the show. And then I watched the first episode of the series because he's been hacking at me to watch it. Which is, I should probably say, it's A Comet Got Killed. You guys can tell me whether you like it or not. I honestly didn't give a crap about the first episode. And when I see him on Monday, I'm going to be like, I didn't care for it. And I know if you guys are fans of it, I'm sorry. I personally don't care about it right now. But I didn't care about the opening either. And it made me think about why I have those songs in my phone, but not other shows that I've watched. And that went into a whole process in my head about what does an anime opening do? And that's actually going to be the title, or somewhat of the title of this episode, is what kind of like along the lines of what is the purpose of an anime opening, or something along those lines. Because for me personally, I feel like I like a series more if I'm enjoying the opening. For example, I'm gonna pair up two series right now, which are somewhat put together because I'm pretty sure it's by the same creator. You have Sword Art Online and Axel World, and I love both of those series, for their own reasons. And while I do feel like Axel World's story, first of all, okay, I should probably say this. I like the story of Sword Art Online more than Axel World, but I want to continue Axel World. Whereas Sword Art Online, when season 1 ended, I was fine with it, and I honestly didn't care if it got a second season. Whereas with Axel World, I really wanted to watch the second one. But the one big difference between both of those series for me is that I don't like any of the Sword Art Online openings, but I love the one for Axel World, and that's the one I have on my phone. Whereas all three openings for Sword Art Online, I have not given a crap about. Same with other series. Like there's certain series. Okay, for the most part, a series that I like both the opening and the series, I tend to enjoy more than if it's I don't like the opening but I like the show, or I really like the opening but I don't like the show. It could, for the most part, usually the ones that actually there's even situations where I just don't care about the opening and I hate the show. Dragon Drive is a perfect example of that. See, Dragon Drive was one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life, and the opening didn't help it at all. So it was basically, for the most part, when I'm watching an opening I don't care about, I usually just skip it for the following episodes until I see a new opening. Dragon Drive didn't have two openings, and it had the same opening all series long, and it was the same bullshit ass opening the entire time, and I didn't care about it, and the series itself wasn't at a part where I gave a crap anymore, so I was just watching a big pile of shit every time I went to that show. But so those situations are very rare. I always tend to like at least one aspect of the show, whether it be the opening or the series itself. But for me personally, I tend to enjoy more a show, or I tend to enjoy shows more when I like what's going on in the series and the opening. Because for me, it's like the opening is supposed to like try to take you and push pull you in and be like, this is what it's about. This is what you're gonna be seeing. I hope you enjoy it. Um, so I always tend to gravitate towards more towards shows where the opening's able to capture me right away and pull me in and be like, hey, this is what you're gonna get, and I know you're gonna like it because this is awesome. And while that's not all the time, as I said, I love Sword Art Online, but I have never liked any of its openings. Ever since the first opening, I have not liked any of them, but I still keep watching the show. So what I essentially do is I just skip the opening anytime I watch the series. So my question for this video is, do anime openings matter? To be quite frankly, right there. Because to me personally, I feel like they do. I really feel like anime openings have a purpose, and they should always strive to either show off enough of what kind of what to expect while having a badass soundtrack in the back. Because that's another thing. I have seen shows where I like the animation, I like what they're showing me, but I don't care about the song. And if I don't care about the song, I'm not gonna watch the opening because I'm basically, well, I mean, I could mute it, but then it would be kind of weird because then I'd just be listening to nothing, and I can't be listening to nothing when I'm watching something. It's kind of this weird process with me. So I tend to skip those because I don't care about the song. There has been those small exceptions, like with what was it? Ah, gosh, I already forgot the name of the show. Dang it. The Aesthetica of a Rogue Hero. I didn't really care too much about that show in the first place, right? It's not one of my favorite shows ever. It's probably like way in the bottom of like, and actually you could be near, you could be like my no, I'm not even gonna say. I didn't care about the series that much, and the opening itself, I didn't really care too much about it until near the end of the series, where it was still the same opening because it was a really short series. It was still the same opening, but for some reason, since I always skip the opening, right? But it would always skip to around the part where like the opening was ending, like the last verse or whatever, or not the last verse, but like basically the ending of the opening. And for some reason, it would catch up in my head, and I would be kept repeating that last phrase or that last statement or whatever it is. I kept repeating it in my head. I'm like, what the heck is this from? And then when I made the review for the series, the anime time, I obviously looked for the opening so I can use that as a basis for the intro card. And after listening to it, I realized I really like the opening, and I have that in my phone now. So it's not like you. Okay, I really need to word this correctly. So basically, don't just push away an opening from the get go just because you don't like it. Try to give it a second chance, or try to pick a spot, because well, I didn't care about the opening was mostly like Dead Man Wonderland, for example. The opening for that show, I was mixed with. Basically, I didn't care about the first half, but the second half of the song, I kept playing that. Like I basically skipped half of the opening because I only cared about half of the song that was in the opening. Those situations exist. You can like half of an opening, but not the other one. For example, another example I could bring in right now, Isekai no Sekishin, which is I'm pretty sure it's part of the Monogatari series. I basically, for me, I love the song in the opening, but when I went to look for the full song, I only cared about what was in the opening. And the weird thing is that the opening of the series was like the exact middle of the song. So I basically didn't care about anything else. I just liked that part right there. So there's gonna be sections where that's gonna happen, where you're gonna be like, well, I really hate the start of the song, but I really like the second portion of it. So I mean, maybe I could just listen to half of the song. You know, it's kind of like that. So I don't know. It's like I'm watching. I don't know, what is it, like 9 shows right now? I believe if I count them correct. If I count them correctly, I believe it's around 9 series that I'm watching currently, and I really like I skip the openings for most of them. Um, like Pokemon, you can't really since I watch it on TV, I can't really skip it. So it's like, and it's not that it's a bad song. You can't really hate the first opening, even if it's remixed a billion times. I mean, it's the biggest issue right now, and I know a lot of people don't like the fact that it's a remix. But here's how I see it. I am pissed off at the fact that it's just a remix of the first opening. But you can't really hate on the first opening. It's a badass opening. Um, but I basically can't skip on that. I skip on Naruto's. I skip on Sword Art Online's all the time, ever since the first opening. The regular Magic High School, which is another thing. I need to state this as well because there's series where they have multiple openings, right? You can like some of them and some of them not. Fairy Tail and Naruto, which were some of my longest progressing story or progressing series that I watched, alongside Pokemon. But Pokemon openings are always kind of that's not the point. That's not the point. Like all of these long-standing series, even Bleach, when before it was canceled, there's gonna be times where you're gonna like an opening, and then the next opening that shows up, you're not gonna like it. For me, right now, Naruto hasn't had a good opening for me personally since I don't know, like 3 or 4 openings ago. I have not cared about any of the openings they've been using, and Bleach was the same. There was a lot of openings in between that I really didn't care about. And Fairy Tail right now is going good process because I've liked the last 4 openings that they've had in the series. What? Yeah, the last 4 or 5, something like that. I've liked them. But there was a lot in between that it was a huge gap. I believe it was like I didn't care for the second or third opening, and then I skipped from the 5th opening to like the 10th, something like. It was a weird number, but I still like the show, and so like, oh gosh, I'm losing my voice. So it's not like you have to like an opening to like a series, but it adds to it adds to the emotion, adds to the drama, adds to the excitement that you're gonna have for it. I always, I guess, as I stated earlier in the video, I always tend to enjoy a show where I like what's going on, and they have an opening that pulls you in. I feel like those are the series that make it a lot better for me. Black Butler, for all intents and purposes, I've liked all 3 openings that series has had, and I honestly think that Black Butler is definitely a top 10 tier of my favorite of all times. And it's strictly not only was the story good and it just captivated you, each opening had its own flair that just drew you in. I don't know. It's weird. And Magi for all intents as well. See, Magi though is an exception for me because I didn't like the 2 openings for the first season, but I loved the 2 openings for the second season. And I'm still waiting for my Sinbad Adventures OVA. I don't know where that's at. I'm very frustrated right now because I really want to watch that series. And Magi is definitely one of my favorite of all time, just because of how good the story is. So, just a final question, basically to reiterate the question I've been trying to say. Do you guys think an anime opening serves a purpose? If so, what is it? If you don't, what do you do with it? Because the biggest difference between anime, or a big difference that I notice about animes and cartoons use the same opening throughout everything. Like it's the same one, nothing changes. Whereas openings tend to change when it's a long series and they have different variations so that you can find the one that sticks, the one that likes you, the ones that pulls you in. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been SoresanCrockxen, and I'll see you guys in future videos.